Britain has been warned it will not escape being targeted by France after Emmanuel Macron recalled ambassadors to the US and Australia but not the UK. The French president is furious at the submarine pact between the three countries, which caught France off guard and resulted in the cancellation of multi-billion-pound contracts for Australia to build French diesel submarines. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian last night announced the country was recalling the ambassador to the US Philippe Etienne, citing the exceptional seriousness of the announcements. France also recalled its ambassador to Australia but has not yet made any move to remove its ambassador to the UK. Catherine Colonna. French officials are thought to view the US as prime movers in the deal, and Boris Johnson insisted the UK's relationship with France is rock solid despite the row. But a French diplomat slammed Britain for acting opportunistically, and former British ambassador to France Lord Peter Ricketts said he expects further measures against all three countries. Furious EU complains that it was not consulted on a UK-US submarine deal. The EU has complained that it was not consulted on the UK-US submarine deal, while France has lashed out at Australia for stabbing it in the back. Josep Borrell, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs, said the Union was only made aware of the new alliance through the media. And French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian has accused the Australians of a betrayal because the alliance meant they scrapped a multi-billion deal for France to provide subs. Defence Secretary Ben Wallace insisted Britain did not go fishing for the pact to provide nuclear-powered submarines to Australia with the US after France called it a stab in the back. The UK, US and Australia agreed to cooperate on the development of the first nuclear-powered fleet for the Australian Navy in a groundbreaking agreement dubbed a UK-US. But this meant that Canberra ripped up a deal worth around £30 billion that was struck with Paris in 2016 for France to provide 12 diesel-electric submarines. A diplomatic row broke out, with Mr. Le Drian telling France Info Radio, "It was really a stab in the back. We built a relationship of trust with Australia, and this trust was betrayed." Meanwhile, Mr. Borrell, ex-president of the European Parliament, said, "This alliance we have only just been made aware and we weren't even consulted." As High Representative for Security, I was not aware, and I assume that an agreement of such a nature wasn't just brought together overnight. I think it would have been worked on for quite a while, he added. We regret not having been informed, not having been part of these talks. We weren't included, we weren't part and parcel of this. Mr. Wallace said he recognizes the frustration from France after speaking to his French counterpart Florence Parly on Wednesday night. They had a contract with the Australians for diesel electrics from 2016, and the Australians have taken this decision that they want to make a change. We didn't go fishing for that, but as a close ally when the Australians approached us, of course we would consider it. I understand France's frustration about it. Boris Johnson told MPs today that the UK's military relationship with France is rock solid and insisted we stand shoulder to shoulder with the French despite the row. The Prime Minister met with his Australian counterpart, Scott Morrison, and US President Joe Biden at the G7 summit in Cornwall in June. Downing Street confirmed that the three leaders discussed the subs at the meeting. The Prime Minister's official spokesman added, "I wouldn't say there was one single meeting that did it. This has been something that has been an undertaking of several months. It's a culmination of that work." Writing on social media last night, Lord Ricketts said France's moves so far suggest it sees Britain as accomplices in the deal, but that may not stop further repercussions from happening. He said, France now recalls ambassadors to US and Australia, unprecedented between allied nations. Interestingly not from UK. A signal Paris regards Washington and Canberra as ringleaders in plot, with London as accomplice. expect further French measures targeting interests of all three. Mr. Le Drian yesterday called the nixing of the $90 billion £65. $5 billion subcontract unacceptable behavior, Le Drian said in a statement. At the request of the President of the Republic, I have decided to immediately recall our two ambassadors to the United States and Australia to Paris for consultations. This exceptional decision is justified by the exceptional gravity of the announcements made on 15 September by Australia and the United States. The move comes amid a huge backlash in France over the move, a French diplomatic source lashed out at Britain, telling Reuters, the UK accompanied this operation opportunistically. We do not need to consult in Paris with our ambassador to know what to think and what conclusions to draw from it. A top French diplomat told Associated Press Macron got a letter from Australian PM Scott Morrison announcing the sub-deal's cancellation on Wednesday morning. The French reached out to Washington to ask what was going on, but the resulting discussions occurred just hours before Biden announced the deal in a video conference with the two key allies. According to The Times, the AUK-US deal was codenamed Operation Hookless Inside No. 10 and was the most closely guarded secret inside government for many years. Among the tiny number of people in the know, besides the PM, were outgoing Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, Defense Secretary Ben Wallace, National Security Advisor Sir Stephen Lovegrove and First Sea Lord Admiral Sir Tony Radakin. The clandestine discussions were said by a defense source to be like a scene from a John le Carré novel. Defense sources familiar with the discussions told the newspaper that Australia had decided that the submarines which it had agreed to buy from France were not enough to ward off the threat posed by China. They instead wanted nuclear-powered ones which are faster and stealthier and not in need of regular refueling. Another man who was reportedly in the top-secret loop of decision-makers was John Bew, Mr. Johnson's foreign policy advisor. Those who were aware are said to have been ordered to sign a paper vowing to not speak of the secret discussions outside of the group. Le Drian on Thursday called the move a stab in the back. We built a relationship of trust with Australia, and this trust was betrayed. This is not done between allies. France is the U.S. longest-standing ally after the European country's essential support during the American Revolution. Numerous U.S. presidents have taken part in annual commemorations of the Normandy invasion that attest to the close historical bonds between the two nations. The stunning diplomatic slap comes a day after France made a lesser statement by nixing a planned gala at its luxurious embassy in Washington that was meant to celebrate the U.S.-French relationship, while also ditching another event in Baltimore. The embassy gala was to mark the 240th anniversary of the Battle of the Capes, when the French Navy fought the Royal Navy of Britain during the Revolutionary War. It all came at the end of a week where President Joe Biden announced a new agreement between the US, the UK, and Australia, in a move meant to counter China and bolster security in the Indo-Pacific region. Under the terms, Australia for the first time would purchase US-made nuclear submarines, which are quieter, faster, and must come to port less frequently than diesel or electric boats. The move infuriated France, which said it had not been informed long in advance. Biden, who ran in part trumpeting his deft touch in diplomacy after helming the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, now finds himself at the center of a diplomatic row with a key ally. It comes at a time when his handling of the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan is also under scrutiny. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said France had been informed in advance of the move, and tried to put the best light on the state of relations. France in particular is a vital partner on this, and so many other issues, he said. The diplomatic slap came just minutes after the U.S. military had to admit that a U.S. drone strike in the final days before the U.S. pullout in Afghanistan had mistakenly hit an aid worker, killing 9 family members, including 7 children. Australia had been relying on French shipbuilder Naval Group to construct its diesel submarine fleet, set to be delivered in the mid-2030s. The move also piqued the government New Zealand, which has a long-standing opposition to nuclear energy, and which was not included in the agreement. A spokesperson for Minister for Foreign Affairs Marise Payne said in a statement, "We note with regret France's decision to recall its ambassador to Australia for consultations following the decision on the Attack-class project. Australia understands France's deep disappointment with our decision, which was taken in accordance with our clear and communicated national security interests. Australia values its relationship with France, which is an important partner and a vital contributor to stability, particularly in the Indo-Pacific. This will not change. We look forward to engaging with France again on our many issues of shared interest, based on shared values." The so-called AUKUS defence pact between the UK